Hello everyone, it's Roman, and before this video starts I want to give a serious warning. In this video there's going to be a lot of discussion of police brutality going on right now in Belarus, and the Belarus police literally torturing detainees and regular citizens that are not even protesting. I know this video is definitely going to get demonetized because of the content, but that's fine. I'm not going to put a lot of graphic imagery in this because I don't want my video to get deleted off of YouTube or anything, but there's going to be a lot of description of the horrific stuff going on in Belarus right now. The stuff I'm going to be talking about in this video may upset you, and it's upsetting for me to talk about this, but I have to because I'm just looking at this and my fucking heart aches, okay? And I just can't believe the sheer violence and how insane the police brutality in Belarus right now is.
Мы стояли все стеной к стене, руки назад, если, не дай бог, что могли к земле. То есть, как собаки, как 41 год. Тут еще не сильно издеваются, а в РУВД там били конкретно в этом бусе, ОМОНовцы, 10 штук меня били. Дубинами били, оскорбляли, угрожали смертью, снимали штаны с меня. Сказали, по кругу пустят. Сказали, будет так, что мама не родная не узнает. Сказали, вы все типа против Лукашенко, вы быдло тупое. И нам платят не 900, а 5000. Вы все типа чмошники, куда вы выходите, кто вы все такие? Тупые. Меня просто животным обзывали, ко мне так и относились, как к животному. На землю, на колени пихали.
My God. I can't. It's insane. The police in Belarus, or the Belarus OMOH, which is like the SWAT, like the special forces essentially, act like actual Nazis that have taken over a country. Like, at this point, Lukashenko is a fascist dictator. There's no other words around it. His police force is a fascist mob that literally acts like Nazis that occupied Belarus. It's not even an exaggeration. I'm going to show you some examples of what they're doing and you're gonna agree with me. Alright, so as you guys know, right now Belarus is pretty much going through a revolution. The president, or as I would prefer to call him, ex-president of Belarus, Alexander Lukashenko, has been in power since 1994, and recently he's faked an election to an insane degree, and the entirety of the country rose up in a protest against him. The protesters went out peacefully in the streets, and immediately the police started assaulting them, beating them, detaining thousands, shooting people with rubber bullets, using tear gas and using flashbangs, causing harm to many people, and one person even got killed as in the first day of the protests. A young man was run over by a police truck, which is a horrific event. Before we get to the topic of this video, the torture of detainees, I want to give you the main updates on this whole situation. As you guys know, the main opposition in this election to Lukashenko was a woman named Svetlana Tikhanovskaya, who is the wife of the oppositional candidate that got jailed. And she actually won the election, and she did not leave Belarus at the time of the protest, but what happened is that essentially she released the video in which she apologizes to the people of Belarus and says that she is leaving the country and is going to Lithuania, and also asks everybody to obey the law and stop protesting.
Уважаемые граждане Республики Беларусь, я, Светлана Тихановская, благодарю вас за участие в выборе главы государства. Народ Беларуси сделал свой выбор. С благодарностью и теплотой я обращаюсь ко всем гражданам, которые поддерживали меня все это время. Белорусы, я призываю вас к благоразумию и уважению закона. Я не хочу крови и насилия. Я прошу вас не противостоять милиции, не выходить на площади, чтобы не подвергать своей жизни опасности. Берегите себя и своих близких. Я приняла очень тяжелое для себя решение. Это решение я приняла абсолютно самостоятельно. Но, знаете, не дай бог оказаться перед таким выбором, перед которым оказалась я. Люди, берегите себя, пожалуйста. Ни одна жизнь не стоит того, что сейчас происходит. Дети — это самое важное, что есть в нашей жизни.
So, I mean, just looking at those videos, it's pretty obvious that she's been blackmailed. Just the way she talks about it, she says, I hope you don't ever have to make the choice that I had to make, and our children are the most important thing after all. It's pretty obvious that Lukashenko's regime, or perhaps Lukashenko himself, threatened her children, and she basically had to leave the country and also had to say these words like, you know, obey the law or whatever to the people because she was scared for her family. And it just shows once again how scummy of a person Lukashenko is, that he would go down to this, to threaten someone's children in order to, you know, get rid of his political opposition. So yeah, the main oppositional candidate has left the country, but the protests are still happening because the protests are not really at this point for her, for Tikhanovskaya. At this point, they're just for change. They're for the police brutality to stop, because people see what's going on, and the way that people are treated, it makes people even more angry. And sometime soon, you're probably gonna see some real violence coming from the protesters. But for now, the violence is coming only from the side of the police, and the amount of it and what they're doing is insane. First of all, there's been a ton of videos of brutal beatings by the police in Belarus. The police and the so-called OMON, like, you know, the SWAT, basically. Literally, not even during the protests sometimes, like during midday when nothing's going on, the police can randomly pick a target and just start beating them up with sticks and batons. They're not even beating up people that are resisting arrest or something like that. They're literally beating up people just for the sake of it. There's been already that video that's gone viral of the police brutally beating two people just sitting in near some residential building, not even at the protest, and they're beating them up, saying how they should have stayed home and they shouldn't have talked shit and they wouldn't get a beating. Well, there's been like 50 videos like this since then. The police literally just picks out people from random places, they start beating them up. There's been reported cases when the police would stop taxis of people just going somewhere, and they would drag people out of the taxis and start beating them and start arresting them for no reason whatsoever. And just so you guys understand, it's insane because they're not only doing it to protesters, which is already messed up, you shouldn't do that, but they also attack and shoot at and beat up people that are just minding their business, that are just walking their dog or whatever.
Не беги, мы с собакой. Ой, бля! Ой, ёб твою мать!
Yep, that man was extremely sure that the police is not gonna shoot at him because he's not a protester, he's just walking his dog, but he got shot at because the people that are working in the Belarusian police right now are fucking scum. So already shown that clip of the woman that was very distressed from what she had to endure during her detention. So here's what's going on. The Belarusian OMON is arresting anybody on the streets right now. Here's a good example from a video by a Russian journalist, a Russian YouTuber, Anton Lyadov. He's a Russian citizen, a Russian national who went to Belarus to, you know, film the protests or whatever. And he literally got out on the streets, was just walking. He was not at the protest. He was just walking to the beautiful city of Minsk. He got stopped by the OMON. They shoved him into a police truck and they detained him for 72 hours. And the entirety of those 72 hours, they were torturing him. Here's the thing, in Belarus, basically legally, a person is allowed to be detained for 72 hours before trial. And very often than not, what happens is that the OMON, they arrest the person, they detain a whole bunch of people for 72 hours, and they literally just torture them for those entire 3 days, and then they let them go. So literally, the first thing that's most messed up about this entire thing is just the way the police acts. Every single person that's been detained by the Belarusian OMON has said that the OMON always says some remarks about like the protesters being idiots, being like paid shells, and they always say some belittling remarks like, "Huh, you want to change? Well, here's your change. You want to protest? Well, how about now? Who's the daddy now?" You know, shit like that. It's not like they're just serving the regime or whatever, they're just doing their duty, but they understand everything. No, they are literally ideologically charged, and they take pleasure in torturing the detainees. The detainees are forced to stand, lay, and kneel in very uncomfortable, inhuman positions for hours on end. The detainees are not allowed to go to the toilets. The detainees are declined food, water, everything.
Мы были в дворике бетонированном, ну, это даже не камера была. Нас было, помещение было 5 на 5, 25 метров квадратных, нас было там 120-125 человек.
Там в камере 64 человека было.
64 человека?
Да.
А какая камера, на кольке она разрешена местом?
Там 10 мест или 8.
А когда ее дали, это было, ну, по 3 глотка. Мы раздавали, бутылки передавали. В туалет тоже нас не пускали, пустили на первый раз уже на вторые сутки в 4 часам ночи.
And also the detainees are constantly berated and beat up so hard that people, I don't know if I can even show this because YouTube might like block my video or age restricted. So just go online and Google detainees in Belarus, injuries and stuff like that. You'll see that the people that have been detained for 72 hours literally come out like their entire body is covered in bruises, like their entire body is basically blue. You know what I mean? Like, the way the OMOH beats people up in Belarus right now is actually to the inhuman levels. They beat people up so bad they barely fucking survive. And they're doing it all while fucking laughing and making fun of the person that's getting beat up. On top of all of that, let me just read a couple of, testimonies from the people that have been detained. When I was reading this for the first time, like, the hair on my skin was standing up. Like, I can't. What the fuck? When we arrived at the police station, we were first put in some sort of room. The people there were laying on the floor and we had to step on top of them. We had to step on them. Everybody on the floor, face to the ground, we were being screamed at. We could only lay down on our stomach with our face down. The guy next to me, trying to be comfortable, accidentally turned his face to the side and instantly got a kick in the face with a military boots. All around there were brutal beatings. People were screaming. We heard screams, hits and punches. I thought that some people who got detained had their legs and their arms broken, because after the smallest movements those people were screaming. We were taken to the police station. When we ran out of the police truck, the policeman and the OMOH stood in the corridor. We ran to the fence and they were punching us. They were smiling and saying, "You want to change? Here's your change." 3 people from Spetsnaz took me to the corner of a mall and my hands were tied. They took out a literal frag grenade and said that now they're gonna pull it, they're gonna put it inside my drawers, I'm gonna blow up, and then they're gonna say that I blew up on my own terrorist bomb, that nobody's gonna be able to prove anything and nothing will happen to the police. They put the grenades inside my trousers and ran away. Then they returned, said that I'm an asshole and started beating me. They punched me in my crotch and they punched me in my face. While we were going to the police truck, they kept punching me in the face. Right now a lot of my teeth are ruined. The scariest part is the night at the police station. They beat you up for any movement, for any word, for any noise. Sometimes they make you do some physical exercise, for example, sit-ups or press-ups. And if a person is not able to do exercise, they put him on the ground and start beating him up. There was blood, but not a lot of it. When they beat you with batons on your legs or your spine, there's only bruises that are left. There are no open wounds. The OMOH likes to beat up people. When we were being released, some people were running and wheezing, and the OMOH was snorting and laughing at us, like mocking us. If somebody screams, they beat them up even harder so that there will be more screams. And these are just a couple of testimonies from the people that were detained. Some of these are just normal citizens, some of these actual journalists. It's insane. I mean, my question is, what the fuck? Okay? Like, what is wrong with these people? Okay? And these are supposed to be like the people that are supposed to defend the people of Belarus, like against terrorists and stuff like that, right? How the fuck are these people in these positions? How have they passed any sort of training or whatever? These are mentally insane people. They act like Nazis. A sane person would never act like this to any other person. This is not just police, acting a little bit out of pocket. This is not a little bit of police brutality. This is not just an unfair detention. This is torture. They're torturing people and they're taking pleasure out of it. What kind of person, how do you grow up to become like this? How can you grow up to become a fucking loser, lunatic like these retards? Like, what is wrong with these people? It's like, what were they? They were hurt as kids, they were bullied as kids, and now they're taking it out on these protesters, or random people they just got on the streets. What is going on here? I'm asking the question of how these people were even allowed to become, policemen in the first place and in these special forces in the first place, but maybe that's the point, Maybe that's the point. In such an authoritarian regime, you need people like that. You need the police to be fucking nuts. So that when real injustice happens and when people rise up, you have these fucking insane people who have zero moral principles or anything, who will be able to beat up, torture, shoot, and tear gas and flashbang normal, peaceful people. I guess that's what it is. When you run an authoritarian regime like Lukashenko, you don't want your police to be full of level-headed people that would realize and would actually care about the people, that they live in the same country with. You need insane people that would just be ready to kill, harm, punch, bully for money. Now, to be completely fair, not everybody in the Belarusian police and the Belarusian OMOH is insane like this. There's a lot of stories where police officers or OMOH soldiers have quit their jobs in the last few days because they couldn't bear, they saw what's going on, they saw the police brutality, they saw the torture that's going on, and they just couldn't stand for it. They couldn't work in those structures anymore. So there are sane people within, but the majority of these forces are fucking Nazis. Insane fascists. Obviously, I'm not calling them Nazis in the sense like this is racially related or anything. I'm talking about the way they act. You know what I mean? These people are turning Belarus into one big fucking concentration camp. Literally, when you get detained in Belarus right now for 72 hours, nobody knows where you are, you have zero contact with the outside world, nobody cares about you, you have zero human rights, and you're literally in a concentration camp fucking live experience. I can't understand it, man. I just what the fuck? How? How is this possible in Europe in 2020? What have we done wrong as a human civilization to let this happen? I don't know, man. I just wanted to make this video because I want the world to know about this, because the news say that yes, there's police brutality, yada yada yada, but there's not enough said about it. The entire world community should recognize Lukashenko by who he really is, a fascist dictator. Not just an authoritarian, conservative, strong leader or whatever, no. He's a fascist dictator who's willing to wage war against the citizens of his own country, torture them, and basically rid them of human rights. So yeah, long story short, that's pretty much it for today's video. I mean, I have nothing else to say. I just wanted to put it out there, and I just wanted to show what's going on in Belarus right now. So hopefully, guys, you did find this video interesting. Hopefully, you did learn something new. So yeah, guys, that is going to be pretty much it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching it again. If you guys do appreciate what I'm doing in this channel, please make sure to slap a like button, and also, guys, go to the link in the description to my Patreon, donate to it. I would gladly appreciate it. It helps me out a lot. It helps me out with stuff that I do on this channel. So yeah, guys, thank you so much for watching today's video, and I will see you guys in the next one. Живе Беларусь. Peace.